Hey everyone, it's Jack with Real Deal Crew. I wanted to touch base regarding Google's recent update to Gemini. And if you go to the Google AI Studio, there is a area there now called Nano Banana. And a lot of people are really excited about this because you can do some pretty amazing things with it. However, there are some intricacies that you really need to be aware of in order to get the best results. So I'm going to share a couple things that I've been playing around with, and you can decide how it can impact and how it can help you in your real estate investing business. As you know, I also host Real Deal Chat, where I talk to real estate investors, and I'm making thumbnails quite often. In this case, I was talking to Sean Griffith, and the picture quality sometimes just isn't there, whether it's me being on rural internet or what have you. But in this case, I asked it to improve the picture, increase the resolution, and it did exactly that. It took that photo and converted it to this, and it does look considerably better. However, in some cases, I asked it to do the same regarding some other images, and it sometimes is a bit hit and miss. You can see here the original image and what it produced. It looks like it tried to shift me over and add more of my shirt for some reason. But when you tell it that it made a mistake, what you're asking. So that bit was a fail. But this first one, that actually ended up not being too bad, and I was able to use it. Another one was that I'm redesigning my Real Deal Toolbox website, and I asked it to create a hero banner. And if you know what a hero banner is, it's that main graphic as you go to a website at the top of the fold. But it gave me a couple options. I preferred the second one, so I asked it to create it in a different size. And you can see here, all it did was give it to me again in the same size. It told me that it did it, but it didn't do it. In the end, I just asked it to remove the text so I could use this graphic. I brought it into Pixelmator and I made some changes. So if you go to realdealtoolbox.com, you're going to see exactly how that ended up looking. The other ones are, I asked it to improve the resolution of this for a thumbnail that I was working. I had another podcast, and you can see here, yeah, that's a significant improvement. However, it's not, this doesn't even look like the same person. So one thing leads to another, and it even tells me here that it cannot directly edit the image to improve the resolution. So it's forced to generate a new image. With that being said, I uploaded the graphic again and asked it to improve, just to sharpen it. And it did do that to a certain extent. It's not a huge difference, but it was a bit of an improvement. So at that point, I was just like, I have to move on with my day. In a couple of cases, this actually worked out to my benefit. And I see if I can find that image. There was one in particular where it really did do a fair job, and I'm not finding it. So I'll share it. In fact, it's on my YouTube channel right now with my interview with Henry Yoshida. The before and after there is quite telling. In fact, maybe if I go to my Pixelmator, yeah, right here, this was extremely pixelated and it really cleaned it up. So let me see if I can find. So you can see the difference there. That was before, and this was after. Unfortunately, I had to ask it a number of times. The first time it generated something that didn't look like him at all, and then the second time it produced this. But what I think is interesting is that it seems to ignore the person on the right. I don't see any real significant difference on anybody that's on the right side of whatever image if there's multiple people on that page. One of them is, if you look at my screen right now, I uploaded some headshots to see if I could have it generate some other headshots. And that's actually one of the things that I think it does quite well. So if you need a new headshot for LinkedIn or your website or what have you, this might be a great option for you. Everybody gets a few free credits. This is one of those things that I think some of those headshot websites that specialize in this could possibly be in a bit of trouble here regarding that. But that top one in the blue quarter zip, that's kind of where I started. And you can see that it put me in different outfits. They're relatively safe and unassuming. Wasn't too keen on the crazy backdrop, but I did ask it to generate some others, and it put me in a sweater and other things, including a polo shirt. And so this is where it actually does a pretty decent job and would recommend it for that type of use. One that I thought was interesting is that I took a black and white photo, and you probably recognize this photo, and asked it to colorize it because I have some old family photos that I thought this would be kind of fun. And it did do some colorization, but for some weird reason, it even extended his shirt over her in this picture. So again, it's one of those situations where if I'd get into the nitty gritty and it was detailed about it, it would probably pay off in the end. And then lastly is that I wanted a thumbnail for this video. And I asked, could you create a image of a banana being used to drive in a nail? And it gave me this one at first. And then I asked for another one in a 16:9 ratio, which would be the size of your standard television screen. And it didn't quite understand the aspect ratio. So I got a square image. What does this all mean? Can you fire your graphic designer or artist? Maybe not. I think, in fact, you might need a graphic artist or a little background in order to get it to produce exactly what you are looking for. If you have some quick edits, it's great. Remove a logo from a t-shirt or some basic format changes, it can do that quite well. Anything a little more complicated than that, you're going to need to spend a little time with the prompt engineering again, just to dial it in and to get exactly what you're looking for. Which does lead me to this. If you need help regarding Nano Banana AI, just implementing some automations. We've all got into real estate investing in order to free up our time. We want more control over our lives. And unfortunately, many of us find ourselves in situations where we've just created another job. And if you found yourself in that situation and you could use a little help trying to free up your time and you don't want to hire more people, we can help you by implementing AI, automations, and a few other strategies so that you can spend that time with the family that you were intending to do. So give me a call or take a look at the website, realdealcrew.com. Those are going to be links in the show notes. And until we see you next time, have a great day.